Hey guys, right before I start this video, I just want to make clear that I will only be talking about Star Wars canon, so any Legends material will not be included. Thank you, and enjoy. Star Wars, as most of you should know, is a massive franchise that includes 11 movies, 5 TV shows, hundreds of comics, over 20 novels, and several video games. Now, I split this into 4 periods: the Old Republic, the Dark Age, the Rebellion, and the New Age. The Old Republic consists of the Clone Wars era, which includes the prequel trilogy, the Clone Wars TV show, and of little comics and novels. The Dark Age takes place right after Revenge of the Sith and covers the Empire's reign up until A New Hope. The Dark Age consists of the 2 standalone films, Star Wars Rebels, and countless novels, comics, and video games. The Rebellion is the classic Star Wars story of the Rebellion and the Empire, which consists of the original trilogy and several comics and novels. Last comes the New Age, which is about the period of peace after Return of the Jedi and the fight against the First Order. This consists of 2 TV shows, the sequel trilogy, and as always, plenty of comics and novels. In ranking these 4 sections, I've come up with 2 concepts to base the rankings off of: plot complexity and character development. First comes plot complexity. Plot complexity is how well each period can form a story. It is how deep a story can be and still make sense. How thought-provoking and exciting are the twists, turns, and suspense. When it comes to the Old Republic, I will hand out an 8 out of 10. Yes, while the story told from the movies alone may be short and quick, the Clone Wars TV series really expands on it. The Clone Conspiracy is a prime example. The Old Republic unravels the case on why the clones betray the Jedi in the most precise and exciting way. And the best part about it? We know what's going to happen. We know that the clones will eventually betray everyone. We know that Chancellor Palpatine is Darth Sidious, and we know that Ahsoka can't make it to the 3rd movie, but it is still exciting and enjoyable anyway. With many twists and surprises, the Old Republic really comes into its own as a major storyteller in the Star Wars canon. For the Dark Ages, I give it a 9 out of 10. This period, just like the Old Republic, deals with a story we already know the answer to. Save perhaps some missing development in that of the Rebel Alliances, the Dark Ages is golden when it comes to plot complexity. Coming right off of Revenge of the Sith, it has so much content to explain. Through the uses of novels, comics, and video games, even 2 movies, it tells the story of Darth Vader's rise to the dark side, the rise of the Empire, and the hunt for the remaining Jedi, and that's only in the first half. It weaves brilliant stories in the finding of the Rebel Alliance, and with Rogue One showed a complex and exciting event on how the plans to destroy the Death Star were founded. Plot complexity in the Rebellion gets a 7 out of 10. This era had its pros, and it had its cons. On the pro side, it is a completely original story that brings in the Force with a great sense of mystery. Also, the Vader twist is one of the best movie twists of all time, let alone the best Star Wars twist. On the con side, the whole Ewok Rebellion is in my opinion stupid, and the creation of a second Death Star is lazy. Basically, Return of the Jedi, its story, is bad. Lastly, the New Age gets a 5 out of 10. While I do like how in the Aftermath novel series they explain how the Empire actually falls, and I really like what The Mandalorian is doing right now, I feel like the new movies are literally the same story. They are about a rebellion who wins, and then fails, and probably will win again. Even more so, the backstory of Luke not trusting Kylo, and the new Senate becoming corrupt has all happened in the Old Republic. It is literally the same story. Next comes character development. The Old Republic gets a 6 out of 10 in this category. While I do love how they really flesh out the clones and characters that are only in the Clone Wars, like Asajj Ventress and Ahsoka Tano, I think they do a bad job on Anakin Skywalker and his rise as Vader. They make him a curious little kid in the Phantom Menace, then a spoiled one in Attack of the Clones, which by the way makes no sense considering how submitting of a person he was when he was a slave. Then in the Clone Wars they flesh him out and make him angry now and then, but then in Revenge of the Sith they completely rush it. He goes from being happy and content with the Jedi to going completely to the dark side from literally 2 conversations with Palpatine. The Dark Ages gets a 9 out of 10. They are brilliant when it comes to this. Darth Vader's rise as a Sith Lord is shown amazingly. Thrawn and Tarkin moving through the ranks of the Empire are presented great. Kanan and the rest of the characters in Rebels are given comics and novels explaining their journey. There is an explanation for everything, and yet we still wonder about so much. The Rebellion gets a 10 out of 10. Han Solo is charismatic, but also a jerk. Luke is a normal foreign boy who grows as a person and as a Jedi. He goes from foolish to wise. Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Sidious are somewhat one-off characters, but we get to know them as wise, troubled, and mysterious people. The entire Rebellion has a cast of complex and deep characters that at one point or another, save perhaps Palpatine, we can all relate with. Lastly comes the New Age, which I give an 8 out of 10. While I did hate Rose, and I think Leia is a bit overrated, everyone else is pretty solid. Finn is very funny, but also exciting. He is different from anyone before him. Han has become a disgruntled man that has one of the saddest deaths of all time. Kylo Ren switches from being the hero to the villain, and Poe is just a really charismatic and lovable pilot. They are simple characters, but at the same time, different. Now comes the final scoring. At number 4, we have The New Age. This pick is actually pretty weird, because Force Awakens is in fact my favorite Star Wars movie. But anyway, while I don't hate the New Age era, I do feel like it is unnecessary. It is copying the same stories already told, and really just serves as a reboot. But I definitely think it has its pluses. Also, you have to realize that it hasn't been around for a long time, and there should be a bunch of EU stuff coming out soon. And The Mandalorian is a prime example. I believe with that and the other expanded material that will come out, the New Age will be revered as being great. At number 3 is The Old Republic. Now me personally, I love this era, and the Clone Wars is my favorite thing in Star Wars. I love the conspiracy and the story, and while I do have to admit the prequels aren't the best, you guys have to lay off Jar Jar. He is a comic relief. And also, I get much more emotion from the Clone Wars than the original trilogy. At number 2 is The Rebellion. This is what started it all. And while a trilogy could be called a timeless story of discovering yourself in good versus evil, it does it really effectively and creates an amazing story that makes sense with little explanation. Finally, at number 1, The Dark Ages. The reason why this is so good is because its tone is dark and depressing, and everything made that belongs to this period reflects that amazingly. And it ends right before A New Hope, where the heroes finally gain that spark of hope in the form of the Death Star plan. So yeah, that is about it. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Comment, and I will probably answer. Do you want me to do more Star Wars content? Tell me. And that's it, I guess. Have a good day.